seat taken?
Nobody's in the seat, then I ain't taking, son.
So this is, Sabacc?
Sabacc.
Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to Sabacc the Block, your Star Wars show on First Cut. I am here with a very special guest. I have Mr. Alden Diaz in the house at that Alden Diaz. What is up, bro?
What's going on, man? Good to be back.
Yeah, good to have you back. Obviously, for anyone who is on Star Wars Twitter at all, you know who this guy is. You've seen him somewhere. He's tweeted something. And you have liked that tweet, or have you not liked that tweet, but either way, you've seen this guy. How's everything going in your Star Wars corner of the world right now, Alden?
Oh, things are great, man. In terms of the Star Wars of it all, coming off of these two amazing episodes, which we'll be talking about, it put me in a mood. I started catching up on the comics today. We were talking about, celebration plans off air. The mood is back. I think that for a while, I think New Year, I was like, a little exhausted, behind on my books, behind on my comics, and then suddenly it just clicked, and I'm ready for this packed year of Star Wars.
Absolutely, man. I'm totally with you. I'm loving the Bad Batch right now. I'm having a blast with this show, especially after those two episodes that we saw. I want to get into it in this episode, and we're going to talk about that. But first things first, we've had you on the show before. Obviously, you're always the first thought of mine when I want a guest to have on the show, and I absolutely wanted to have you back on Sabacc the Block, especially this new season that we're starting up this year, where I want to be more consistent and I want to have amazing Star Wars guests, and obviously you're always at the top of that list, man. So thanks, man. Instead of doing the usual Star Wars story, because you've been on before, I want to do a different question, and I want to do, what is your most memorable Star Wars movie-going experience?
Wow. I mean, that's loaded, right? So I can eliminate some. People watching, the two of us probably know we're not OT kids. So we eliminate those movies. I wasn't even a special editions kid. You were, right?
I was.
You're a little bit older than me, so you're special editions. I was around for Menace, but I was a toddler, so Attack of the Clones is my first one. Now, the easy answer would probably be Force Awakens, because that was like, we were all there. No one ever thought we would see that. And it was unreal. Last Jedi was also great. They've all been good, but I want to go back to that first Attack of the Clones. I'm 6 years old, opening night. It's, I think, my sister, my uncle, maybe my mom's there if she decided to put up with it for a couple hours, because she's not a fantasy person. But that initial screening changed my life. I've never seen, at that point, I'd never seen a spectacle like that felt different than Sam Raimi Spider-Man. It felt different than X-Men. It felt different than Potter or Rings or anything, because it had its own distinct feel. It had a blend of genres. It was all of these fantasy meets sci-fi elements together, and it was you're a little kid and you're watching scenes that maybe you don't even understand, like the investigation into Sifo-Dyas and what happened with the Kaminoans, and maybe you don't follow it. Maybe you don't understand why, these two pretty people, Anakin and Padme, can't get together, but you feel it. And that feeling of feeling it crystallized when I saw Mace Windu show up and say, "This party's over." And you see all those sabers ignite around the Petronaki Arena, and it leads to that epic charge of droids versus Jedi. And I thought, I want this forever. Whatever this is, I want this forever.
I bet, man. That must have been insane. As a 6-year-old, watching like hundreds of Jedi charging ahead as if it was like some crazy medieval movie that you're watching. I absolutely agree with you. Attack of the Clones is definitely one of my favorite movie-going experiences as well. Obviously, the Anakin and Padme stuff was amazing. To me, the Obi-Wan stuff was like insane. Even as a kid, I knew this guy was built different. I was like, damn, Obi-Wan is taking care of business. So that's absolutely amazing. Did you have a similar experience watching the finale, Revenge of the Sith, in theaters?
I did, but Revenge of the Sith is interesting because so 3 years later, so I'm in 5th grade now.
Yeah.
And so I get it a little bit more. I'm reading my DK visual dictionaries and stuff. I got the details. I'm playing Knights of the Old Republic. Like, I'm in. But I had never seen something in my life, and you're not at the grade level where you're reading Shakespeare and the tragedies, not quite yet. So I had never seen anything just end on a downer because it needed to. You understand that you're watching the first part and that you already have the second part with the OT. So I understood. I knew those babies are Luke and Leia and it will be happy again. But I remember even as a kid thinking they can show this, like they can show a guy on fire. Like they didn't even cut away. That was one of my first thoughts. That was one of the first times that I ever really realized as a kid, maybe one of the first times for any filmmaker, but specifically with George, how brave he was. He's like, yeah, I'm going to make a family film and you're going to watch him burn. Like there's not going to be a dramatic cutaway or there's nothing ambiguous about it. So it's hardcore. It was really scary.
I don't know if you remember, but during that time, there was actually a big deal made about that because it was the first time I think it was a PG-13 rating, and that was pretty groundbreaking for Star Wars, where everything was PG beforehand and everything was considered to be family friendly. So when the rating was released, everyone was kind of like, what's going to happen that's going to be so crazy that it's going to be PG-13? And then obviously the rumors started to come out that it was going to be Darth Vader being burned. Or falling into a lava pit or whatever it was, rumored to be. And that scene happened, and obviously it earned its PG-13 rating because of that one scene. And I think it's funny how that's where Star Wars is always going to be like, we're going to lean towards violence over like leaning towards anything else that could be PG-13. Where you're allowed one F-bomb in PG-13, but we're gonna burn this man alive.
They're like, you never have to, parents, you never have to worry about sexual content, you never have to worry about offensive language. Even the drug stuff is all hidden with other words, never have to worry about it. But limbs will be lost, flesh will be burned. He's screaming, and it's not quick either. Like it's a whole thing. And then the surgery of his limbs getting attached in the suit, he's all crispy, and that's cut with the childbirth, and then she dies too. So it's like that ending is relentless. That, thank goodness for Owen and Beru and Bale and Brea at the end. That's the only bit of appropriately hope that you get. And it was that feeling of being a fifth grade kid and saying, well, I guess that's it forever and ever, and there'll never be anything. And then then Clone Wars came around and saved us. So
it really did, man. It's absolutely amazing looking back at all the prequel stuff, obviously leading up to the sequel stuff that we eventually got, which was amazing as well. Let's get to the green Psylop for this week.
If you'd only had this little green Psylop.
And the green Psylop for this week is all about the Bad Batch. Obviously, I'm doing a weekly review of the Bad Batch right here on Sabacc the Block. So I want to jump into it with you. We got 2 episodes this week instead of one, basically a 2-parter, I would consider it to be. The first one is called, I believe, Clone Conspiracy. And the second one, I do not have the title.
It's Truth and Consequences.
Truth and Consequences. Got you. And this is all about the consequences of Rampart and his partaking in the destruction of Taboka City in Kamino and the destruction of the clones, and basically how the stormtroopers have come to be and how the stormtroopers are now basically being phased out and eliminated, and now a new era of stormtroopers are going to take over, and how this whole thing is going to come about, and the way they're doing it politically and the way it's done in the Senate, which is I think the best part of this whole episode. It's pretty fascinating. But Alden, what did you think about these 2 episodes?
I loved them. And look, I've always loved Batch. I know it's not for everybody. Some people, we're living in a time of really cinematic television, right? So everything has this feeling of it's one story and we tell it. You and I covered House of the Dragon together, so it's like that's very different than episodic TV. And this show is kind of both. Some of them are part of the A story, and some of them are character builders and adventures to the side. And I love all that. But this was essential Star Wars. This kicked it up into that sphere of we're really gonna take on the ideas head on in ways that the prequels do, Last Jedi does, Andor just did, you know, for 12 great episodes. And this was right there. And like you brought up that Senate stuff, it's the stuff that we've always known. You know, you're a Star Wars trivia guy, and like we've grown up in this. We've always known that they got rid of the clones and replaced them. But I guess I'd never, until they started exploring it, thought about the fact that that wasn't easy. Like I always thought, well, he's Emperor, he can just be like, bye bye clones. But no, there was a fight. There was a human rights battle that happened, which hearing discussions of human rights in 2023 on Disney Plus of all places, in a family show, was heavy. Hearing Omega say, well, why don't where's the clone seat? And where do we have representation? And, you know, taxation without representation, fighting a war without representation, like, you know, all of that really, really poignant. And this will be the first time that kids will hear about some of that stuff. And that's what Star Wars does best, is take really dark real world themes and things that do happen and are still happening and put them in a fun setting. And then you get into the action of it all, and it's amazing. Like right off the bat, this assassination attempt is crazy. And then we move into one of the batch's craziest missions of crashing and robbing a Venator, and it was awesome.
It was awesome. I really do consider it to be probably my favorite of the season, if I'm being honest. It could be my favorite of both seasons. It's definitely up for debate. It's up there for me as well. But I want to get into kind of the inner workings of this, how this all started, right? Because if you really think about it, it goes back to Clone Wars, where Clone Wars gave humanity to the clones, where we were introduced to these clones and these clone troopers who now have personalities and names, even if the names were kind of weird and funky, but they were still names and distinctions that made them who they are. They humanized the clones to the point that obviously they gave them their own show now with the Bad Batch, but this leads to eventually where the clones are going to go and how the stormtrooper agenda is started by, I love how they framed it, where it was the people fighting for the people or something like that. It was like we need people fighting for the people, our people fighting for the people, and how that is switched into what the stormtroopers become.
Right.
I think it's fascinating because Star Wars has always done a humanization of these certain characters like clone troopers, and now phasing in the stormtroopers, where every time we watch a Star Wars movie or a Star Wars show and we see stormtroopers get shot, it's like it's nothing to us. But realizing that this is how it started and realizing that this is the perspective they aim for,
right?
And how control becomes so organic, right? How control is so easily being able to manipulate people into believing that I'm not actually controlling you. This is you. You guys wanted this. You guys want your own people doing this. Yeah. How'd you feel about how this entire argument is framed inside the Senate?
It's brilliant. I mean, and that's so key. Like that's something that has been burned into my brain for years because George Lucas said it probably a bunch of places, but I think it was on one of the DVD documentaries. And he said, democracies aren't taken, they're given away. And that's really what he's been exploring, and this show continues to explore it. This team, Jennifer Corbett as the head writer, and all the writers and directors on the series really honing in on that. It's because when you see Palpatine's masterstroke of this arc come together here, probably one of Ian's best performances too. He's terrifying in this episode. He's not doing anything illegal. He's playing by the rules that they all set. And that's what's terrifying about it. All he did was show up to work and say, so glad we got that guy. Anyway, this is a good idea, right? And people are so paranoid and fearful and flaky that they get rattled into accepting things that they know they shouldn't accept, which they have been doing since Phantom Menace. They have been inching and inching and inching toward this. And it's terrifying, and it puts new context onto, like you said, these faceless people. Obviously, by the time of New Hope, he dissolves this Senate, but there's years of back and forth that Andor explored as well, where it was a fight, it was a game of inches, it was trying to figure out how in this galaxy things got to the point where, because logical questions, if you're just watching the OT, are why did people go along with this? and you get it. You really, really get it. And the First Order is different because there's no choice in the First Order. They're more extreme, sort of neo-Nazi fascists kidnapping babies. But this Imperial era, you understand why people, like in Solo, like why that was the only option to get off planet, was to join up. Like people, there were lines of people joining. They had the Imperial March playing in a major key when you were there. Like it was like we do here in America in a lot of ways. Of though this is such an honorable, great thing to do. And for Palpatine to be 4 steps ahead, like he always is. They're playing checkers, he's playing chess. And he got the thing that blew me away about the writing is that he got everything he wanted on every level. Privately, he got what he wanted. Publicly, he got what he wanted. He got Rampart as the fall guy, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
And then he was able to maneuver things to where he still looks good. Because we're only a year or so out from Order 66. So he can still say I was deformed, I was scarred, and look, they're bad. They're still bad. We're good. He can still play that Palpatine a little bit.
Yeah, it's I love the Rampart aspect of it all, with the whole, one bad apple kind of idea of this guy is just, a rogue agent doing his own thing, breaking the rules. Let's punish this guy and make an example out of him while I wash my hands clean of this.
Yes. And how genius was it that when he's getting dragged away, he yells, "I was just following orders."
Yeah.
Which is the same thing that the clones always have said after what happened. Like it's horrifying.
It's absolutely horrifying. And it's really fascinating that that's how he framed his argument. He really said these clones went too far in following those orders. I was like, yo, what?
The hypocrisy is crazy. And you are, it's probably the most tense directing I've seen in animation in a while. Like when they get the plans and they give it to Omega and they're like, get it to the senators now. You're like, oh my God. Like I feel like I'm watching a political thriller. Like I need this, even though logically that there's still years of Imperial rule. It's so good that you forget what you know. And you're like, come on, maybe we can make a change. And no, it's not going to make a change.
It's so absolutely fascinating, man. And I love the framing of it too, because I really do feel like that's important as well, where Emperor Palpatine is trying to frame himself to be the hero and he succeeds in doing so. But the way that the episode frames him coming up from beneath and rising above everyone else, I thought that was such a fascinating way to present him. And obviously the score of Kevin Kiner as well, just kicking in, doing a bunch of backflips and somersaults. Like I said it last week. I think I've said it every week, if I'm being honest. Kevin Kiner, I think, is outdoing himself.
This is some of the best work of his career. It really is. Between the score, the different tones of like the racing episode and then the Gunji episode and then these, it's like they all feel like different Star Wars, but equally good. He's flexing, putting new instruments in. And yeah, I mean, the way that he scores the mission and then Sheev showing up it really sells the horror, and it does a good job of putting us in the mood of people that have to be around him a lot. Like they know what the alarm means when Palpatine is there. They Masameda, like it's not the first time they've done this. They work there, but it creates this tone of like I almost felt like Omega, because she's a character that doesn't know what the viewers know. She probably understands that there's an emperor, but she didn't even know what Coruscant was until like a day earlier. So she's watching this and you want her to get the hell out of there because it's so scary.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to highlight some characters in this week's episodes with obviously starting with Senator Chuchi. How'd you feel about her arc and her kind of character in general, especially throughout the Bad Batch?
I love Chuchi now with such a deep appreciation. I always thought that she was a cool character. I like all the Pantorans. I think they're cool people. They've got a cool perspective, a cool aesthetic. I loved her guards and everything, and the shine that they got in fighting the assassin, who we'll talk about because that was another reveal. But I loved that she was being sort of the avatar of the themes of like the human rights battle and of asking these questions, asking questions that will work really well for kids and families that are watching this kind of fresh. But it's so sad when you see her fighting a battle and it doesn't work, because we've seen things like Rebels, where it's just Rex, Wolf, and Gregor, and they're stuck and they're out of the game and they're on hard times, or in Kenobi when you've got that 501st trooper begging for credits. Like, we know that the story of the veterans here will be a tragedy, but you still root for her because the performance is great and because the writing makes her so sympathetic. And she's not just, which is not, this is not an insult to Bale and other people because it's a hard era, but she was an early adopter of like, no, I'm going to get out there. I'm going to go to the streets and with my guards and try to find, is it Slip? I think it's Slip.
Mm-hmm.
And try to find him, which, you know, maybe Luthen Rail should have picked up Chuchi for his network. You know, she would have been a great addition. And maybe he did. Who knows? Still lots of storytelling. So
it's so fascinating to hear her. These are small details that I enjoy. Her accent,
yeah,
being so similar to Omega's accent, and obviously just the clones in general. But it kind of, you know, parallels the her future endeavors and her future fighting, where she's fighting for the clones, and just the proximity of just having that similar accent. I just find to be something that's absolutely fascinating and interesting. And obviously I want to do the same thing you did, but I want to repeat it again, which is give credit to her guards and her security detail. Those guys were like doing their job.
Yeah, they were actually, it's very rare you see actually good security in these big sci-fi fantasy stories.
I knew they were gonna die, but I was like, man, if they do a good job and if they like find a way to get her out of this somehow, even if they die, they did their job, and they're so G to the point that I wanted to have their names. I was like, they were replaced the next day, and I was like, what happened to those homies?
I was the same way, dude. I was sitting here like, I kind of want a Pantoran Guard Black Series figure now. Like, can we get one of those? Like, those, they have a really just a clean look, really interesting weapon design, and yeah, they put up a really strong fight against that dark clone, which, you know, we'll see where that goes. That's another scary part of the dehumanization too, is she's fighting for the rights of the clones, and then the weapon they've turned on her is a clone.
Absolutely. No, I really do feel like I pay attention to those things. I paid attention to them as soon as I saw them, because I'm fascinated by the dichotomy of the anti-fascist, anti-imperial kind of side of Star Wars, where there is this misconception of pacifism being passive and being, we're not going to defend ourselves, where in reality, those kind of security guards, and, you know, if you want to include Phantom Menace, where they had no official army, but people like Panaka, at least in that movie, was like those kind of guys where we're going to do our job. As Ellie would say, or as what's his face, Frank would say from The Last of Us, we need these kind of dudes in the world to defend the righteous people, or to defend people who need defending. And that's what I'm always fascinated that Star Wars always does a good job with, that, where they really pay attention to, like, yes, we're against fascism to the point that we are going to shoot back and we are going to punch back, because that's what we need to do, because we're not stupid. So
yeah, absolutely. It's a great point. I mean, these people like Panaka, or like these guards, or people that we see, you know, across the spectrum of how, you know, Mothma has her people from Chandrila, or even the Gungans. Like, there are people where it's like, whatever our military strength is, we're not going to be the aggressors, but Star Wars is in a lot of ways about drawing a line in the sand.
Yeah.
Whether it's one random guard all the way up to Grandmaster Yoda. Yeah, we won't choose this, but it doesn't mean we're going to just turn the other cheek. We're not going to run. Even Bale was willing to go to the Jedi Temple and see what was going on during Order 66. Like, you have to be able to get boots on the ground and actively be a part of the solution. And sometimes that does mean firing back, like you're saying. Like, as much as it was important for the rebellion to have its political, strategic, public-facing end, when they have a Death Star, gotta blow it up. And that mentality is across all things, and it's all these stories too, right? Like, you know, we talk about Ice and Fire, Rings, or Star Wars, or Last Airbender. Like, all of those, you want peace, but peace is earned sometimes.
Yeah.
And when they pick on you, sometimes you gotta be like an Ewok and just smash them with a log.
With rocks.
With
Yeah,
rocks.
I agree, man. It's really cool how they do this in these shows, and I really do find it fascinating, especially with these kind of characters like specifically female senators.
Yeah.
The traditional like, this is just some lady who wants peace, whatever. But those kind of characters standing their ground and doing what needs to be done, like you said, Mon Mothma as well.
Absolutely.
Padme is another example.
Absolutely.
those
And
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you probably know her name in that the trivia files. The Rogue One senator got to be an animation.
Oh yes,
She's-
Tinra Pablo.
Pablo, yes, that was great to see her, and
I loved it. I screamed out Tinra.
yeah, she had and same actress who's also
Yes.
in Dune, and so yeah, seeing them and like you said, it's a good thing that you brought up that it is these women and everything, that because it's not that the Jedi didn't have women in leadership, they did, but you've got guys like Yoda and Mace at the top that kind of lose their way, and you had Padme the entire war with people like Mothma and Chuchi around her in the Senate chamber. In other things, historically in fantasy, you get women with colorful, complicated dresses and fancy hair and all that stuff, and they're just like kind of there, or they need to be saved. But in Star Wars, it is those people that even Omega as a kid, but she got her own fancy poncho in this episode to wear, her little disguise, and it's those people that have in a lot of ways a scarier, maybe tougher existence right now than the Batch, because the Batch is on the run, but they get to hide. They have powers. Wrecker has super strength, Hunter has super senses, Tech has a super brain. They can handle themselves. Chuchi and Mothma and all them have to go to work with this guy every day, and they have to be on the front line, the real front line. So it's worth noting for sure.
Yeah, I really do feel like it's something interesting to pay attention to. That's definitely worth it. And I really enjoyed both episodes. Let's get to the Rex of it all. I want to focus on Rex a little more because I like him being, I don't even know what to call him. The Luthen of the clones, but kind of the middleman between everything going on, where he's able to communicate with outside forces and rebel forces or insurgent forces, I guess, and get him to focus up and to create different missions that needs to be done in order for senators to succeed. I found that to be fascinating, where he's helping Chuchi right off the bat. He didn't question the idea of helping her or being like, nah, this is like not what I do. I do side missions. I don't do political missions. Where he's able to get the clone, the Bad Batch, and to get them to help out and join in helping out this politician to do quote unquote political work. I found that to be fascinating. But how'd you feel about seeing Rex again? And then I claim it as a victory. Real last thing. The Rafa and Trace.
The garage.
Yes.
It's their garage. I
thought I was gonna
thing.
see them, and I was like, yo, am I gonna see my girls, my sisters?
But it says, I guess, at least they're working together. If they're a part of his network or not, we don't know. But he's got the keys to the garage. They'll let him in. Great to see that. It was a great nod. I loved seeing that location again, and knowing that they're out doing something. Maybe they're on Corellia again. Who knows? But yeah, seeing Rex in that location and in Coruscant in general, in the belly of the beast, and we can assume, we know Cody ditched. So he probably got Cody out there. He's got the Batch out there. We know he ends up with Wolf and Gregor by the time of Rebels. So I'm assuming they're a part of the group. Like, he is, like you said, he's the Luthen. He's the Hera. Like, all these people that have their own cells, whether he realizes it or not, Rex is an early rebel, which is really cool to see, because it sort of recontextualizes old man Rex, where it's like, it's not so much, okay, let's go find this ex-clone. It's like, no, let's get him back in the game that he helped start. Now we know that he was an early rebel, that he was helping fight back in really direct ways. It's great to see. It's great to see him continuing to use his leadership skills and not laying down, sort of like him and Ahsoka. They had their period of, obviously it was tragic and everything that happened after season 7 of Clone Wars, Order 66, and he appears at the beginning of her Tales short, and to see him sort of continue on and not be fully broken, I think is in character for him. And It was just a welcome sight to see him save Chuchi for sure. And he's just a great character. I mean, he's a character that we've had for years already. You know, I sometimes I still feel like Rex is new, and then I remember, nope, I've known that guy since 2008.
Yeah, since the movie came out, which is insane. Shout out to Rex. I really do feel like his character continues to grow, even in the Bad Batch, which I find to be fascinating. I consider this episode or these last two to be some sort of growth for Rex, as like I said before, like a middleman, or as like a action man, where he's able to get people to focus up and to get on missions and to do what needs to be done. So shout out to Rex. I want to finish out obviously with our kind of goodbye, our sad goodbye, I guess, to Echo. How'd you feel about that?
I was really surprised by it.
Yeah,
I was surprised once it happened. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Because at the beginning of the conversation with him and Omega about his place and where he belonged, it was sort of like not closing the book, because he says, I'll be back. And if he's teaming with Rex again, then he's teaming with Rex again. And I'm sure we'll see that group come in and out, however many there are. That's cool. It makes sense. He needed his time away to come to terms with being tortured. He needed his time away to come to terms with being physically changed and being, you know, a cyborg now, and all the things that he is. And it feels like going with Rex is like going home, you know, because he wasn't part of Clone Force 99 when it started. He wasn't a Bad Batcher at birth. He doesn't have superpowers like the Batch does, or super senses or anything. He was one of them, but he always had a foot in both worlds. He came up with Rex, and so I think that was fitting. It was sad for Omega. Someone pointed out, I wish I had saved the screenshots. I get the @ so credit to whoever this was, but it's easy for the guys to leave Echo because for them it was just part of many adventures. But Omega never knew the Batch without him. The guys were like, oh, we had Crosshair, he's gone, now we have Echo, cool. For her, those were all her guys. Those were her brothers, her dads, however you want to look at them. And this is her first, he's not dead, but it's her first big experience with loss in a lot of ways. And it was really sad. The only thing that could have made it more sad is if she'd thrown up a salute right before the ship left. I would have cried. I was already like, oh, this is brutal. And he's not even dead. Yeah. He's making a choice that he wants, and I'm already sad. So yeah.
She sells it so good. Shout out to that actress who plays Omega. I think she's amazing.
She's so good.
She's so good. And I really do feel like you feel her innocence in that moment. You feel her innocence throughout these 2 episodes, but I really do feel like that moment definitely sold it. Real quick before we leave Bad Batch, did you ever consider that assassin could be Crosshair like I did? Because I did.
I thought he was Crosshair when we first saw the sniper sight, but then he missed a couple more times, and I was like, that's not Crosshair. Crosshair would never allow this.
Yeah, he missed against the security guard too.
Exactly. He would have planted some mirror discs behind the cars and would have sniped the wall and gotten them.
He's too good.
But it is an interesting thing that they have, like, because at the end of season 1, we saw Nala Se go to that lab on Tantus, I think it is, Mount Tantus. And what's going on there is that where these true believer, electrified capsule clones are being made? Is that what because they said like, oh, he doesn't have an identification number, and Tech's like that's not possible. You can't get rid of that. And if these are being made whole cloth as a new batch that is militant and only knows the Empire, that could be really interesting.
I'm so curious how we're going to get into, and I know it just kind of occurred to me, the whole aspect of the Mandalorian as well, and how that is, we know something's going on Camino wise, at least with the Mandalorian. Yeah. So I'm curious if we're ever going to get any hints, maybe this season with the Bad Batch.
Because Nala says the lab people have the same uniform as Pershing, the Kaminoan ones, and so they're still out there. And it would be really cool to see another Kaminoan in live action again. That'd be a lot of fun in season 3 or something. And yeah, I mean, hey, Tamora Morrison's ready to work. Yeah, Tamora Morrison. Every single show. Let's go.
Every Star Wars Celebration, he'll be there. Yeah. Let's move on to our full Sabacc this week.
Full Sabacc.
So our full Sabacc is all about Qi'ra, who we just heard is getting a new book. This kind of reminded me, obviously, of Solo Star Wars Story, and that's where a lot of people were first introduced to her. Most people were first introduced to Qi'ra in Solo Star Wars Story. I wanted to ask you, because this is kind of its own, if I'm being brave enough to say this, its own little mini universe, this Solo Star Wars Story universe with characters like Qi'ra, like Infus Nest, and other side characters that were introduced here. Where do you feel this storyline, this world should go? Whether it's Maul and Qi'ra, or whether it's just Qi'ra or any other character in there, where should the Solo A Star Wars Story universe go?
Well, the first thing is I think moves like this are really cool and really smart. And this one, Crimson Climb, the artwork of her, she still has her jacket from the prologue. Her hair is still short. She has his dice. So it's safe to say that this will be while he's in the military. And like it's going to fill in between the beginning and when he sees her again. Cool. But for the Solo characters, and I would like more of those, I will say, if we can get like a Beckett and Val comic or book or Rio, or like, let's do it up. I'd love to see those characters expanded out. Enfys, of course. But going forward, it's an interesting thing because Qi'ra right now is in the third arc of her big war with Palpatine during the OT in between Empire and Jedi in the comics. And it started in War of the Bounty Hunters and then Crimson Reign, and now it's Hidden Empire. And it's been really fun and really cool. And that's her at the height of her Crimson Dawn. And obviously she's not going to win because Return of the Jedi still happens. So we'll see how that goes. 2 more issues. And it's a really fun series for anyone that hasn't read it. But overall, live action, these actors, Emilia Clarke, we know just from, following the business, Alden Ehrenreich, I think they have him on contract for 2 more movies. If they ever wanted to do that, they could always work that out into shows. It's what they've done with some Marvel people here and there. I think I would like to see them sort of peppered into other projects, whether it's a Solo 2 or not. I mean, I'd like it. I don't need it, but I would like to see them again. If they did another Book of Boba Fett season and Qi'ra was the big bad of that season because his Boba Fett's sort of being the daimyo over here is messing with what she's trying to do, that could be interesting. I'd like to see the learning and working with Maul. Is she the one that stranded him on Malachor? That's a popular fan theory. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Alden's back as Han, whether that's in his own thing or popping up in someone else's thing. If Han and Chewie were to pop up in Mandalorian or in Ahsoka or whatever they want to do, he's there. Put a beard on him. We know he had a beard after Return of the Jedi, age him up a little. However you want to do it, I think that injecting the Solo material across the board would be smart. You have all this stuff. You have these actors that are ready to go, and why not do it? I mean, and then the other thing is Lando, is that show's still in development. It's just a matter of Donald Glover being busy, and that comes straight from Kathleen Kennedy. So that one we don't have to guess about because she straight up said when he's available, he's available.
Yeah, I really do feel like, obviously I'm selfish, I want to see more of these characters. I want to see them expanded. If I'm being honest, I would love to see them get their own 6-episode arc. I think that'd be amazing if we get a 6 episodes of Infest or of Qi'ra, or if any, even if it was Alden Solo, I'd be down for that too. But I know a movie is a larger endeavor, and obviously they're super cautious with movies now, as we can see. So maybe not a movie, but if that's not the case, I would have loved to have seen them in possibly their own Disney Plus show and kind of try to have their story filled out there. But either way, I want to see these characters again in live action. I want to see Emilia Clarke again, if I'm being honest. I would love to see her take on this role again in much better terms, if that makes sense. During that time, it was just wild and just insane, and a lot of negativity during that time. So I feel like now, if she came back, there's a lot more positive feelings, positive word of mouth, where her character, I feel like, could blend easier within our current Disney Plus lineup. I just feel like that'd be amazing, and it would really work well. And I like your idea with her coming up and possibly other shows. I think it's funny the age thing never matters in Star Wars at all.
No one cares. Yeah, no one
Everyone's
cares.
like, wait, the age won't line up. It's like, bro, it doesn't matter.
The funniest thing is that you got Tamora Morrison, and the dude looks so good. He's playing 20 years younger.
Yeah.
And Ming-Na he's 60, Ming-Na's in her 50s, Pedro's in his 40s. Crazy. It doesn't matter. You got Ewan and Kenobi. He's got 9 years to turn into Alec Guinness.
It's
no
insane.
one cares. But yeah, they've done a good job of giving her not older, but like a slightly more like wealthy, rich sort of look right now in the comics that she's in, where Qi'ra's hair is shorter. She's wearing like capes with like the Crimson Dawn sort of emblem, and she's got like these batons and everything, and she's squared up with Vader and lasted. And even Vader was like, she had training, man, and nobody survived with me that long. We got to figure out what happened there. And Palpatine's like, oh, I know who trained her. I could tell just by looking at her. I know exactly who did that. And so to see Amelia do that, and she's so down. She's such a funny person in interviews, and is such a nerd. And like, if they called her up, she'd be there. And her popularity only grows, like that. And she's not just an actor they had. She was a phenomenon during and before, lead actress of one of the biggest shows of all time. So definitely want to take advantage of that. And
it's crazy how, if you really think about it in retrospect, we've talked about it ad nauseum, the Game of Thrones universe and the way the fandom has split, if you want to call it a split. It's more of like 80-20 or 70-30. But how the fandom has just been divided up, and yet 100% of them, I feel, love Emilia Clarke.
Yeah, everybody loves Emilia Clarke. Everybody loves those actors. Yeah, like the choices or whatever. Or even with Solo, people loved the movie, liked it, thought it was okay, didn't like it. Nobody ever thought that the cast was the issue. And her chemistry with Alden is great. Donald's chemistry with everybody. Donald has chemistry with everybody that moves. So yeah, it'd be great to bring that crew back. And
also Erin Kellyman, she just did Willow, and she looks exactly the same.
She's amazing too.
As she's did just in the movie.
She's so dependable. Like they had her in the MCU, they had her in Star Wars, and they had her in Willow. Like, she's become a Disney Plus staple. Like, just keep her going, bring her back, and she would jump at it for sure. And that's the thing too, is it doesn't, like I think you said, like if it was a 6-episode thing, like it doesn't need to be Han Solo or Qi'ra. Like, just do Star Wars : Crimson Dawn, or Star Wars: The Hutt Cartel, and just tell a story where we see all of them.
That'd be great.
It's sort of like Game of Thrones. It's like, oh, this episode we're at the Wall. Okay, this episode it's the Wall and King's Landing. This episode it's the Riverlands. Like, just tell a crime story, and Alden's in 4 of them, and Amelia's in 3 of them, and that'd be awesome.
I would love it, to be honest. This is the kind of stuff that I would greenlight if I were at Lucasfilm, but obviously I'm not there. But either way, I would love to see more of this story. But actually, talking about this, Qi'ra actually inspired my next topic. And my next topic is our Force flashback of this week, which is all about looks, which is all about fits, which is all about drip. And I want to know, the drip king, the drip queen, our top 5 Star Wars characters who have the best drip of all time. Alden Diaz, I pass it to you. Give me your top 5 through 1 Star Wars drippiest characters of all.
I think that the drip queen of galactic history, from all ages, all eras, all corners, has to be Queen and then Senator Padme Amidala. I think Padme is
she
just,
number 5?
I was going 1 in no particular order, but she's 1. I'd say she's 1. If we're going from bottom up, let's go bottom up, and I'll put so you know who my 1 is. I gave it away.
Yes.
Going from 5, I'm gonna throw in, representing Force users, Count Dooku.
Ooh,
I think Count Dooku.
Pajama look.
The
Battlefront 2.
those pajamas.
They're clean. They're clean.
So good. They even call them exquisite. They're exquisite pajamas. They look like they're like satin. They're so cool. His iconic standard look, his ritual look with the two pauldrons and the silver buttons and everything. His Jedi look that we've seen now a little bit more. He has another Jedi look you see a lot in comics. Guys comes from money, and he wants to let you know. He became a Jedi, and they were like, we kind of all wear the same thing. And he was like, not me. I don't do that. Even his lightsaber hilt has drip, man. It's clean. It's got the little guard. So Dooku's in there. I think I also have to give it up for we talked about Qi'ra, so I'll put her to the side. She would definitely be in there. It's like I'm gonna Hall of Famer for right now, just to mix it up. I'm gonna go Grief Karga. Grief Karga. The funniest thing about him is that it's like they asked Carl, like, do you want to go even harder this season? And he's like, yes. Every season of Mandalorian, he just gets, the swag just increases. He was already cool with like a half cape in season 1. Then season 2, he let the gray come in his beard, added some color, and now into 3, my man's thriving. Town looks great. New buildings everywhere.
He's got to look good every week.
Bright skies. He's got to look good. So Dooku, Grief. Let's see here. Who else has that immense drip? Gosh, there's so many people, but I gotta say Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma, especially post Andor. She already had some cool outfits, her original, her deleted scenes in the prequels, Clone Wars, but she has some dresses in this Andor season that were spectacular, man.
Oh yeah,
absolutely spectacular.
She did, yeah.
They had every single time, and they even used them to tell stories, like the way that she would leave a party and unbutton, and the collar would turn into like a different kind of collar. Like, it's so cool, just amazing looks. This is a left field pick, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention her. You don't really think of armor as having style until Sabine Wren debuted, baby. Sabine Wren was like, yeah, the shape will never change, but I will turn it into an art piece. I will turn it into personalization, color pop style, culture, the story of my family, the Ghost Crew, my found family, all these things. I'll make a TIE fighter that matches. Sabine Wren is like an Art Basel Miami artist that shows up and wears her own story. So she's got to be in there. And then Padme is 1. So
dude,
that's my 5.
You took my number 5. You took it.
Sabine?
Sabine, yeah.
Sabine has to be, yeah.
So here's my thing. When it comes to styles, when it comes to looks in Star Wars, senators, fancy people, politicians, you usually don't think, like you said, armor. You usually don't think warriors. They look plain, they look simple, they look clean, but they don't look drippy. They don't look crazy. Sabine breaks that mold times 10. She's like, nah. I'm Mandalorian, but I'm going to look good and I'm going to look crazy. Like, I have new sneakers every week, new Air Jordans, like red, purple, green, like all the
hair
colors.
Matches the fit,
hair,
everything.
She's crazy with her looks. Like, she's absolutely insane. She needs to be in the top 5, in my opinion. And like I said, it's hard with Star Wars because if you think about it, I was really trying hard. I was like, sequel trilogy, it's tough. Like, everything's gray, everything's beige, everything's white. It's so hard. So I want to focus more on warriors. Obviously, nobody on the First Order is going to be on my list, but I want to focus on no one. But I want to focus on, warriors and people who are on the field in battle, but still look good doing it. So I put Zori Bliss in my number 2. I think Zori is a perfect example of someone who has a really unique, defined look, but still is good for battle and good to take on anything that comes her way. Her E851 blaster,
gorgeous.
Some of one of my favorite blasters ever. And
those
it's
long boys. They're so good.
It's so cool. And her mask is absolutely insane. So obviously shout out to Zori. And now my top 3. My top 3 is very easy. It's very simple, but I think it's the correct top 3. At number 3, I put Qi'ra. I think Qi'ra absolutely belongs in there. I was rewatching Solo the other day, and I was like, damn, everyone talks about Lando, but Qi'ra looks good in everything. She wears the capes, she wears the tight suits, like her dress is amazing.
The bald, the
black dress,
swanky like cocktail dress, and the white jacket, the ponytail, and like
so
she always looks great.
Amazing. And obviously I already named my number 2. It's Lando. Lando
has to
is
be
just
him,
the king of looks. He's the king of drip. But as you said, it's the automatic number one. It's like there's no debate. It's the goat of drip, the goat of looks, the goat of fits is absolutely Padme. Padme is unbeatable. She's unstoppable. Every day, every hour, she has
every hour. Sometimes, sometimes one day she'll take.
Yeah.
What's amazing about her is that yes, she has those Hall of Fame like best of looks.
Yes.
Her Phantom Menace red, her white
What's your favorite?
Geonosis. Like,
Can I name what's your favorite? Ask what's your favorite?
Yeah, I have two. So my favorite, I always answer the packing dress, as they call it, where she's packing her luggage and she's got sort of a Leia-esque hair, puffy sleeves and everything. Love that dress. And then the other one, you're a young guy, you're 6 years old, you don't really know what girls are even about. Then you see her in the black leather with the fire and her and Anakin, the scene where they're like, we can't do this, and you're like, no, why do you guys look like this? Calm it down. Let's turn the lights on. Let's
you guys are alone.
let's maybe eat another course of dinner, like let's relax. So that's the other one. Natalie Portman does a game changer. But yeah, I mean, like I'm saying, you have all those that are big, but then you really get an idea of just the pure unadulterated style, the steez of Amidala, because it's her 2-second outfits that are just as good as other people's best outfits. I'm like going to see Watto and she's got that hood on, the blue and everything. Like, how does she do it? Her casual outfits are still iconic.
It's insane. She must have like that Hermione bag where she just fits everything in there. Because I don't know where she fits all that. But if I had to name some iconic looks of Padme too, just because we agreed that she's number one, for me, it's the purple and black dress where she has the two long braids. Where it's right before she goes to meet the Gungans, and she's on the Nubian ship on her way there, and she's talking to Panaka and to Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon is recommending something, whatever it is. I forget the exact scene, but that dress is insane. It's absolutely bonkers. And then the dress where she talks to Palpatine about getting a sympathy vote and about doing some action, where it's the white with the little sprinkles on top of her face.
Almost like a chandelier type looking thing. Like, oh, those are great. Those are underrated and they're really good. Even when she's wearing things that other people wear, she makes them better. That's like true. When she's in the N1 pilot uniform, her hair, like that multi-section, like long hair in the back, just gorgeous, man. Like, it's pretty cool costume design, unreal.
Oh, it's so good, man. It's so underrated, and it's really one of the best parts of it too. I think the more and more time passes, the more people appreciate it. But I really do feel like her first iconic look kind of blew people away, and that was in the trailer, I think, too, with the lights in the dress as well. I feel like that she's absolutely amazing. RB3, did we miss anything? As far as, I don't know if you have like a dark horse pick where you're going to come out with someone insane.
Oh man. I don't know if this is a fit, but I always think those black troopers look kind of stylish. You know,
is it the Death Troopers?
Ones? Yeah.
They're dope.
They're dope. Yeah.
Those are pretty cool. In terms of troopers, they're probably up there. I think they'd be up there. And
to me, short troopers,
the Sith troopers, man.
Sith troopers. That's
Sith
great.
Troopers with the grooves and the red. They were like, last stand. Let's get the nice outfits out.
They went way too hard with that, bro.
They put red trim on the captain's uniforms and everything. Like, hilarious.
Remember who had?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say real quick. You know, I had a clean fit, and Andor was that dude who was in he was in Clone Wars, and he was the head guy over the IMF. His name started with a Y.
Wilf.
Yeah, Wolf. Yeah. Lauren. Yeah. He had a cold fit too.
Those are
white with
the white Imperials are the best look. Thrawn, Krennic, like the gray uniform is like everybody can do that, but the white Imperial uniform, clean for sure.
Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, the Sith one, this Final Order Sith uniform. That the lady who's like fire in the Rise of Skywalker. I thought her uniform, I was like, damn, they got like
those
red and black.
My favorite thing about the Sith Eternal is in general everything they do with the red, but it's the fact that when Palpatine regenerates, he gets the new drip with no explanation. It's so funny. It's in my mind, I like when there's all that smoke when he regenerates, I picture two guys like, get the robe out, get the robe, dress him. Like he's got to look good for this.
Absolutely, man. They always go hard. Shout out obviously to the Knights of Ren as well. I think they did, if they did anything right, they got their look right for sure.
Yeah.
Let's move on before we close out this episode to a segment of Squad Up with squad leader Ace. If you've watched Sabacc the Block before, you know what Squad Up is all about. If you haven't, I present to you a scenario inside the Star Wars universe, and I tell my guests for them to pick several things they need or several people they need in order to complete this mission. So this week on Squad Up with squad leader Ace, you are a rebel going on a mission for supplies under enemy lines on an Imperial-controlled planet. In the midst of this mission, you realize you were betrayed and the Empire was alerted to your presence. Luckily, you have a crew ready for a fight. So this week, it's all about a fight with a ton of stormtroopers. It's absolutely insane. Things have gone absolutely crazy. You need a team, and your team is, you need a sharpshooter who can take out stormtroopers. You need a force user who's going to help you even the odds. You need a deadly creature that you have tamed to follow your commands. You need a droid to bypass security and get his hands dirty if he needs to. And finally, a heavy-duty vehicle that is perfect for mowing down stormtroopers. So these are the 5 things you need, Alden, in order to take down an entire battalion of stormtroopers that has invaded. Let me know, what is your number 1 pick for a sharpshooter?
So my sharpshooter pick, now it's difficult, right? Because you think about certain personalities and you immediately think, well, maybe they have the highest hit percentage, but do I want them on a team? And that becomes the difficult thing, because it's not that all snipers are jerks, but the majority of Star Wars snipers happen to be jerks. So I was thinking, who is a guy that's dependable, has leadership qualities, and the high hit percentage? And I thought of the Marshal of Mos Pelgo, the Freetown, Cobb Vanth. Cobb Vanth is my sharpshooter. I thought about Cad, don't want him around. I thought about Crosshair, can't trust him right now.
Nope.
Cobb has it all.
Cobb is a great choice. I love that pick, man. That's amazing. I'm picking my girl, and I named her as one of the drippiest characters already. I'm picking Sabine Wren. Sabine is a beast with her 2 blasters. I think she can take out anyone, and she can take out multiple opponents at one time. Put 2 blasters in her hands, and she's barely going to miss. I am going with Sabine as my number 1 sharpshooter. Alden, you're number 2, your force user.
My force user was an easy pick. Again, thinking about the makeup of the team, dependable. You need somebody that is obviously strong in the force. No insult to anybody. If you made it to Jedi status, you've got to be pretty good. But I'm not going to be picking Coleman Trebor. I'm not going to be picking like Evan Peel or any of those glub shittos. No, you want to pick an all-star. I'm going for end of the saga Golden Blade Rey Skywalker.
Oh, damn.
All white. Fresh off of building her first yellow blade saber. I want to see that gold Jedi action swinging through with her white hood up. Fresh off the saga. Yeah, you lost Ben Solo, but you're hugging your friends. Hey, Rey, I need your help. Let's go. Which I guess makes Cobb really old. Cobb would be an old man cowboy.
Damn. This timeline is going to be wild, because I'm going to be picking some crazy ones too. But I was going to pick something tame. I was going to pick, like an upcoming, rising star, as the NBA fans would say. But now I'm going to change my pick just because you picked someone so powerful. Because I want to have a powerful person as well on my team. Someone who is cold, someone who doesn't give a damn, someone who will MF these stormtroopers till they die. I'm picking Mace Windu.
Yes, dude.
As my force user, someone who can probably take on a battalion on his own, if we're being honest. Probably the greatest swordsman to ever live.
Reminds me of remember in Clone Wars season 7 when he's giving that speech? He's like, I have killed like 300,000 of you over the course of this war.
Yeah. It's insane. Mace Windu is absolutely a gangster, so he's my first user. Who is your deadly creature that is now your little buddy?
Because this deadly creature is tamed to my command, I got a little nasty with this one. I picked someone who has frustrated every Star Wars fan that has played Fallen Order, has been frustrated by one MFer, and his name is Ogdo Bogdo.
Oh, no.
Ogdo Bogdo? Ogdo Bogdo and Bogano? That guy sucks. He is so difficult if you come on him and you don't have the gameplay down yet, or you're fresh, you don't have your powers or whatever. He can take so much damage, and he leaps like a frog. He's so annoying. For those of you that maybe didn't play Fallen Order, he's Ogdo Bogdo. He's a special subspecies of Ogdo, who are already, there's many of those, but he is ginormous and difficult to kill. So he's who I would pick.
That's a great choice. It's fun to do these because I feel like there's so many creatures that we're used to shooting at them or fighting them. I could pick a Wampa. I could pick a Rancor. We saw that in Boba Fett. You could tame a Rancor and get them on your side. But I picked the first thing that came in my head, and he's my homie. He's my buddy. I'm going to be riding him to battle, and that is Boga, the Varactyl. Obi-Wan showed me that if you have a Varactyl on your side, very few people can stand ahead of you, before you. It doesn't matter. He's going to use that tail. He's going to whip it around. He's a giant-ass lizard. I'm picking Boga.
Love that. And you get the awesome Varactyl call.
Yes.
When you ride into battle.
Yes, absolutely.
Love
that. Your droid. Who's going to be your droid in this mission?
There's only one pick for something this high stakes, and that's my boy Chopper.
Oh, you picked mine.
Chopper. Chopper is that guy.
Yeah.
There's that meme right now.
He is the get your hands dirty guy.
Absolutely. Like, people want to talk about what characters have that dog in them. That's Chopper.
Yeah.
Chopper's, you can Google, someone on Reddit did the calculations of his body count. Have you ever looked at that? How many people he's killed throughout, if you add up sabotage?
Yeah.
So many people. Chopper is a veteran of the Clone Wars. He's a Y-Wing vet. Then turned rebel, and now we're gonna see him. He cameoed in Rogue One, but we're gonna see him again in Ahsoka. I need one Chopper action scene in live action. So before that, he's joining my team. My team's wacky, man. Ogdo Bogdo and Chopper.
It's crazy because I've done so many of these, Alden, to the point now that I'm like, man, K2. Everyone can name K2, BB-8, BB-8. R2D2. These are the common picks that everyone picks. Obviously, I was going to go with Chopper, but now I'm thinking, you know what? Shout out to Battlefront 2. Shout out to Iden. I'm picking Droid. Iden's Droid from Battlefront 2. I don't know why. I just love him, and it's like an underrated pick, and she just calls him Droid. I'm sure there's like a designation for it. I never memorized it.
He has so what's interesting about him is that there's Dio in Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
Her droid is also Dio. It's just the designation is spelled different.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's
yeah. There you go. So I'm picking him. He's my pick. So finally, to close it out, what is a vehicle you're gonna get into and start just taking dudes out?
Now, you had to think about firepower here, right? Because there are vehicles I like my N1. I was so happy to see that make a return and become really popular again. And there's lots of ships that I really enjoy, but I want firepower. I want something with some brutality, something that could really help me in a pinch and back us up. So I'm going straight out of the Grand Army of the Republic, the ATTE Walker. That tank walker, man.
That was also my pick.
Oh, dude. See, me and you were putting together a team.
That was my ATT. Yeah.
We should be planning a super team now.
Yes. Yeah.
ATTE is perfect choice for this.
So
I was thinking about, there's a couple others that I thought about. I forget their name, but the Separatist one that has double wheels. Thought about a couple of those. But yeah, ATTE is perfect.
That's a great pick, man. I was gonna pick that. I think it's definitely the best choice. It's when you first see it in Attack of the Clones, it's such a heavy duty, like looking vehicle where it just looks like it can mow down everything and anything in front of it, that I absolutely love it. So if I'm gonna have to do something different, I'm picking I'll do the most basic pick I'm picking just like a basic ass tank. I'm going with the armored assault tank, the
Nice.
the droids one, the B1
Yeah.
battle droids armored assault tank that you first see in a Phantom Menace.
They're great.
They're great. I'm just gonna get in there. I'm just gonna hover around. I'm just gonna shoot some people down. Hopefully, no one has any Gungans on their team.
Yeah. Hopefully,
it-
there's no crosshair on the other side to
Yeah.
shoot straight down the barrel like he did in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. This is it's absolutely insane. So if this goes down, I think I have a good team. Alden, remind me of your team. Let's go down the list. Your 1 through 5, starting with your sharpshooter.
Yeah, so sharpshooter on Team Alden is Cobb Vanth, the Marshal of Freetown. Then we have Rey Skywalker, fresh off of the events of episode 9. We have Ogdo Bogdo from Jedi Fallen Order. We have Chopper from the Ghost Crew, all in an ATTE.
And for my list, my sharpshooter is Sabine Wren. My force user is Mace Windu. My deadly creature is Boga the Varactyl. My droid is the droid from Battlefront 2, Iden's droid. And my heavy-duty vehicle is the armored assault tank from the droid army. So that is my list. Alden, thank you for joining us this week on Sabacc.
Thank you, man.
I hope you had fun, man. This was a lot of fun for me. Where can everyone find you, man?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Hive, TikTok at that Alden Diaz, ThatAldenDiaz. Also follow me on Ahch-to Radio Star Wars podcast and on Casterly Talk, where Ace joins us a lot with Ken Knapsack doing Ice and Fire, Rings, Willow, and more.
And you can follow me at Squad Leader Ace and our TikTok at First Cut TMO. On TikTok, you can follow RB3 at Director RB3 as well. Make sure you do that. Follow Alden Diaz. He's amazing on Twitter. He's amazing in all his social media platforms. So make sure you do that as well. But either way, guys, for Sabacc the Block and for the Sabacc the Block crew, we're going to be peacing out. So deuces.